Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is week 21, episode 21 of Black Sheep Podcast. That means 21 weeks and 21 videos of you just listening to me talk. So, as always, thank you so much. I do love when people let me know who's watching. I love it. It makes me know that I'm not wasting my time. So, today we're talking about weddings. And yes, I did make a podcast early on in my podcasts. I think it was episode like 4 or 5. It was early on. But that was talking more about, how expensive weddings are and, is it worth it? And to me, it is. And, we talked about how I'm paying for it on my own. So, and we might touch on that today. But this one's going to touch more on, the behind the scenes of our planning and probably your guys' planning if you've had a wedding or are having a wedding. Some of the drama that might go on, some of the stress that might go on. So, yeah, let's get into it. First off, and most importantly, I think I said this in my other wedding podcast. If you did not help with the finances, if you did not help with the planning process, if you did not have any helpful input whatsoever, keep your fucking input out of it. I think I said this in my first wedding podcast, a big thing, because we've been engaged for over a year now and we started planning right away. A big thing that irritates me is that when we first got engaged, we kept hearing like, oh, nobody's really having weddings anymore, which simply isn't true. We've gone to plenty of weddings since we've gotten engaged. And even before we got engaged, we had some weddings we went to. So we heard, nobody's really getting married anymore. We heard, just have something small, save the money for a house. Look, I mean, might be good advice. I don't know. It's not advice we wanted to hear. And my biggest thing is I don't think it's advice that anybody gave anybody else in my life. I don't think my siblings ever got that advice. I don't think my cousins got that advice. Yes, I'm like one of the last people in my family to get married of my generation. And maybe that's why. Maybe people are just like, oh, sick of the whole wedding thing. He's like the last one. He just, get it over with. And it's not fair, man. I mean, everybody else had big, extravagant weddings. It's not fair that everybody kind of wants to push it off for us. It's just not right. And that kind of goes to the black sheep thing. Everybody else was helped with their weddings. Everybody else was encouraged to have these big weddings. And for us, it's like, just, do something small. Don't do anything at all. And it's crazy because for like a whole year, I heard, do something small, do something small. We're keeping it as small as possible, but making sure that we include the people that we feel obligated should be there, and also the people we want there. And it's around, 130, 150 people, so it is somewhat large, but there's still people that we want there, and unfortunately we can't afford to have there. And that's just crazy because, people for this past year have said, oh, just keep it small, but now that our wedding's, less than 2 months away, it's like a month and a half away, now we're hearing from those people, oh, well, why didn't you invite this cousin? Why didn't you invite this family member? Why didn't you invite, like, really? All year, all I've heard is keep it small, just do something small. And now that we're keeping it as small as possible, people are bitching that we didn't invite certain people. That shit pisses me off, man. But it's one of those things. If you did not help us with the planning process, with the finances, keep your input out of it. It's that simple. But man, we're excited, we're excited. There's no bad blood towards anybody. Unfortunately, there are people that may be there that we do not want there. I do not want there, but we were basically forced to invite. And it's crazy. We were forced to invite, and invites have gone out. Still haven't heard from those people. I mean, nothing would make me happier on my wedding day for certain people to RSVP no to my wedding. That sounds fucked up, and people might say, "Oh man, well, you didn't have to invite them." Yeah, I did, man. We did. So that's that, man. And I think it's funny, everybody's saying, or I don't know, just people having their input throughout the year. I remember a big thing was like a lot of my family members wanted me to have it. Like once they realized I was having a wedding and like I wasn't going to just do something small. I wasn't going to just like elope or something. And they found out where I was having my wedding. Mind you, me and my fiance love where we're having our wedding. We think it's a great venue. It's nice. When, some family members found out, they like weren't happy about it. And then after we made that decision, they're like, oh, you should rethink where you're gonna have it. How about you have it at this country club? There's a country club that, a majority of people, not only in my family, but a majority of people in like the area we live in, they love to go to. And a country club's just not my vibe, man. It's not our vibe. It's not my fiance's vibe. That's great. It's a place for wealthy white Jewish people to be snooty and arrogant and rude, but fake to each other's faces and then talk shit behind each other's backs. I'm not about that life, man. Good for you if you are, I guess. But yeah, no, our wedding will not be at a country club. But yeah, man, and it's crazy because, the country club was brought up after I made the decision on where we were having our wedding. So it's like, bro, the deposit's already down. Don't be trying to change my plans now that like I've made a deposit. Like I'm not paying for something and then not getting my money back. And that's crazy. I try to include certain people. And in the process, not even talking about finances, just, hey, like here's caterers, here's photographers, here's, cake places, dessert places. I tried to include people to be involved, but, they didn't want to be. So yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, and, a lot of people may have questioned, back in my first wedding podcast or even this podcast is like, this kid's, I'm 26 years old. This guy, is surrounded by people with money. What do you mean he's paying for it on his own? Look, I'm not here to bash anybody for not helping financially. I'm not here to talk shit. But I think it's important that people know, because I know how things work. People will tell me they're not paying for it, but then they'll tell other people that it's what I wanted. I want to do this on my own. We wanted to do it on our own. That is not true at all. Basically, right after we got engaged, I asked certain people if they would like to help, not pay for the whole thing. I asked if they would help. They told me no. They told me, they did not have the money for it, which is wild, because as the people that I'm surrounded by are able to afford, $1 million houses, nice sports cars, all these extravagant vacations. So yeah, you might think, it's crazy. And I think it's crazy too. I'd rather people just, balls up and say, hey, I don't want to help pay for your wedding. I mean, yeah, I'd still be upset, but that's more respectful than saying, I don't have the money for it. But then, doing all this other expensive shit. But it is what it is. We got it done. I think a lot of people didn't think I was capable of getting it done, but I did. We're almost there. And I did it, man. I did it. Shout out to the people that have helped us and did help us out. I don't want to say nobody helped us at all. My mom has been nothing but supportive. She helped Miranda pay for my fiance. She helped my fiance pay for her dress, as well as my fiance's mom. My fiance's mom threw together her bridal shower. My mom is paying for her family and some of her friends to come, which is nice because believe me, she doesn't got it like that. So like she does everything she can, and we talked about that in the money podcast. My fiance's engagement ring, the big diamond on it, was my great grandmother's. So I'm thankful my grandmother let me have that to put on her ring. So, I don't want people to think that, like, nobody helped me. Because, like, people did. My grandparents giving me my great-grandmother's diamond, my mom, my soon-to-be mother-in-law, my sister being amazing, doing a lot of things she didn't have to do. So there were people that did help. But for those wondering, why I ended up really having to, like, do most of it on my own, that's what happened. I was told certain people didn't have the money for it. Wild. And also, man, I mean, if you're part of a wedding, if somebody asks you to be a groomsman or a best man or a maid of honor or a bridesmaid, be there, man. Be a part of that wedding. Be a part of that wedding. Help plan the shower. Take your guy on a trip. Take the girl on a trip. Be around, even if it's just a nice dinner. Everybody getting together, man. Like, the whole point of somebody asking you that is that you guys are close. You guys are important to those people. They want you to be a part of that day. But that doesn't mean just show up on the day, walk down the aisle, stand there, and then it's done. Be a part of the process, man. be a part of the process, be supportive, be encouraging. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to get specific and upset anybody. Yeah, I mean, with that being said, man, long story short, keep your fucking nose out of people's weddings. They don't want your input, unless you're paying for all of it. Just, keep it to yourself. Don't tell people to just do something small and then cry and whine when they didn't invite people you wanted them to invite. If you're if you're invited to the wedding, be a guest. Don't overstep. Just sit down, have a drink, have your food, dance. Just shut up and enjoy. You're a fucking guest. Yeah, man, that's it. Again, I don't want to get too specific with anything. So next week, I didn't even think about what we're going to talk about next week. Next week, let's talk about like a very broad topic. Let's talk about how, like, for the most part, a lot of people think bad things can't happen to them. A lot of people think bad things won't happen to them or the people they love. And I mean, look, long story short, let's just talk about, death real quick. Everybody dies. I think everybody thinks they're invincible for the most part. One day I will be gone. You will be gone. Everybody will be gone. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about, is that there's so many bad things in the world that could happen to you. Great things as well. But, I just feel like everybody thinks they're so invincible, and that something won't happen to them. But we'll hit on it more next week. So, as always, stay beautiful. Don't judge people. Don't be a dick. Peace out, Girl Scouts.